Hi, this is Steve, K8BZ. In this video, we're going to go over some basic commands that you need to know to get started on the right foot with the Kam XL on VHF and HF. The first command we're going to talk about is the carrier detect command. The carrier detect command is used to identify whether there is currently a valid packet signal on the frequency. If your TNC detects that there is a valid packet signal on the frequency, it will not transmit while that signal is present. That prevents a lot of QRM and what they call packet collisions, which will interfere with the throughput for all of the stations that are trying to share the packet frequency. On VHF, if you only have the four basic wires, the minimum necessary wires connected in the cable from your radio to the TNC, which are transmit audio, receive audio, push to talk, and ground, you only have one choice for the carrier detect setting, and that would be internal. Internal means that the TNC will listen for valid packet tones, and as long as packet tones are present on the received signal, the TNC will not transmit. External could be used if you wired the squelch control line. If you watched our video on cabling for the Kam XL, you'll remember that we wired a control line on the squelch pin of the radio to the external carrier detect pin on the DB9 connector on the VHF port on the TNC. If you have that squelch line wired in your cable, you can set the VHF carrier detect to either internal or external, either one. Right now, as you can see, when I enter carrier detect to see what the settings are, it's set at internal for HF and external for VHF. Now if I open the squelch on the VHF radio, when I open the squelch, you'll see that the receive light comes on. While that receive light is on, the TNC will not transmit. Now let's change it to internal. Now both are set to internal, and you'll see that the receive light is flashing at all times. That tells you at a glance what the carrier detect setting is for VHF. If it's set at internal, it will blink. If it's set at external, if you have the squelch control line wired, it will only come on and stay lit continuously when the squelch opens. So those are the two options you have for VHF. On HF, for carrier detect, let me change this back. Carrier detect internal/external. And you'll see the light on the VHF portion of the Kam XL went out. You will see that light come on when a received signal is present. Now on HF, most of the time you're going to have your mode switch on your HF radio set at single sideband, and you're not going to run closed squelch on that, so there really isn't any point in wiring the squelch control line. If you do wire the squelch control line, it may actually be a nuisance on HF. So I would recommend on HF your setting be set to internal, your carrier detect setting to internal, and realize that you're going to be running open squelch most of the time. And I can't think of a situation unless you're running packet way up on 10 meters or something, or on 6 meters if you have one of the HF that also includes 6 meter rigs, and you're going to be running FM packet up there. But for the most part, you're going to be running single sideband mode and sending audio tones into the single sideband transmitter to run packet on HF. So those are the good settings there. Now let's clear the screen, and we're going to talk about the stream switch settings again, and talk about a little more in depth about streams and about the status command. If you watch some of the previous videos, you'll recall that I mentioned the stream switch. Streams are the number of, I'm going to say, lines of communication available to contact other packet stations. You can contact up to 10 different stations and make connections with 10 different stations on HF and VHF. So theoretically, you could carry on 20 conversations or connections simultaneously. Now that's more than most people would ever try to attempt, but it is possible. The streams are, there are 10 streams, but they're not numbered, they're lettered. The stream letters are A through J on both HF and VHF. Now you can reduce the number of streams if you want with the users command. Right now, users are set to 10 for both HF. Remember, the HF setting is before the slash, the VHF setting is after the slash. So users are set to 10 for each port. Max users is how many streams overall can be used by external users and by you. So let's talk about a hypothetical situation. Let's say you have users and max users both set to 2. If 2 stations connect to you, one to your keyboard, one to your bulletin board, then you're out of streams. There are no streams left for you to use to connect to anyone. So it's a good idea to have max users set to one number, at least one number higher than users. Remember, users are for external people. Those are the number of streams reserved for external people to connect to you. But you also have to use one of your streams to connect to someone else. So you should have max users set to one number higher than users. The status command we discussed in another video. The status command tells you the current status of every active stream. Right now, the only active stream is stream A on port 2, which is the VHF stream. The I/O means it's the input-output port, and the current status of that port is disconnected. Now, we're going to go through a little demonstration here to show you how many streams can be used and how you can use the status command to determine what's going on with your TNC. Now, before we do that, we want to enable our HF port. You can see right now that the tuning indicator for HF on the TNC is off. We turn the ports on and off by the HBaud command. The HBaud command right now shows that the baud rate on HF is 0, which disables that port, and the baud rate on VHF is 1200. So I'm going to change HBaud to 300 for HF and leave it at 1200 for VHF, and now you'll see that the tuning indicator and the receive light flicker occasionally on the HF side of the TNC. So let's start making connections. Currently we're on stream A on the VHF port. So let's connect to W8GDW-1. That's a local bulletin board. I'm going to turn the volume up just a hair. So we're connected. Do a quick list command. You'll see the receive light stays on the TNC. The connect light is on. The receive light comes on while we're receiving a signal, and the red transmit light comes on when my TNC is transmitting, or causing the transceiver to go into transmit. Now let's go back to the command prompt, and we're going to do a status check. I'm going to turn the volume back down. The only active stream is still stream A on VHF. It's the input-output port, and it's connected to W8GDW-1. Now I'm going to use the stream switch. Remember, the stream switch is the vertical line, port number, and stream letter. So I'm going to switch to stream B. Now, the port number is only required if you're changing ports. We're not going to be changing ports. We're going to stay on port 2, so I can just do the stream switch character, which is the vertical line, and the letter B. Let's do that again. Vertical line, letter B. Now, let's do another status check. Now there are two streams showing when I do a status check. Stream B is showing because it's the current input-output port, and stream A is showing because it's still connected to W8GDW-1. Okay, on stream B, I'm going to connect to another bulletin board, KD8TUV-1. Okay, now we're connected to yet another bulletin board. I'm going to do a Control-C, go back to the command prompt, and do a status check showing 2 streams. I'm going to do another stream switch to stream C, and then I'm going to connect to my own bulletin board, K8BZ-1, via a digipeater GDW. Now, when I do this, you'll see the connection lights went out. That's because I'm not currently connected on this stream. If you look at the TNC, there are no lights on the VHF side at this time. I'm not connected to anything on this stream. But watch what happens when we do this. There's transmit light comes on, the mail light came on, the connection light came on. So now my mail light came on, which tells me someone is connected to my bulletin board. Well, it just so happens to be me. I'm connected through a digipeater. We're going to go back to the command prompt by doing a Control-C, and we'll look at the status now. I show 3 streams, A, B, and C, that are connected, and I also show my bulletin board is connected, and it tells what station it's connected to and whether it's connected via a digipeater or via a direct connection. Now, we're not done yet. I'm going to switch to stream D, do a status check. So now we have streams A through D on VHF. I'm going to make a connection to my, actually before I do that, I'm going to enable my crossband node. That's with the XConnect command. Let's see, XCon. Oh, it's KNX. KN for node, X for crossband connection. So it's node crossband connection when you think of that command. KN for node, X for crossband, and con for connection. Right now it's turned off. KNX con, I'm going to turn it on. Now I'm going to connect to my node K8BZ-7 via GDW. Now we've got a lot going on here. Let's take a look at the status. Streams A through D all show the connections. My BBS is connected. Where it says A in on port 2 is connected to K8BZ via GDW. All I did was connect to my own node via a digipeater. So my current input-output stream is on stream 2, which is connected to my node. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go out of the command mode into the conversation mode, and I'm going to send a command to my node, and I'm going to tell it to do an XConnect, connect, or crossband connect over on HF to KE0GB-1. Now that's a bulletin board in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Now for this, I'm going to pan out a little here. Might not be able to see these perfectly, but you'll kind of get the idea. My HF radio is on the left, my VHF radio is on the right. I'm going to connect through my VHF radio, is going to connect to my node via a digipeater. My TNC is then going to command my HF radio to try to make a connection to KE0GB-1 on packet on 20 meters. So let's see what happens there. My HF radio went into transmit. Remember, the baud rate on HF is only 300 baud. So it's going to go a little slower, but it's already connected. All of the information on that connection is coming from Colorado to me here in Michigan on HF. It's being digipeated through a local digipeater back to me on VHF and then displayed on the terminal screen. Now I'm going to wait just a few seconds here for this sign-on message to finish, and until I get the input prompt from this station. There we go. Now everything's just going to stay here the way it is. Nothing's going to transmit other than an occasional receive ready. So I'm going to do a Control-C, get the command prompt. Now I'm going to do a status check. you'll see everything that's active in my TNC is displayed. Streams A through D, with the connections we discussed, my bulletin board is connected to me via GDW. My node in is connected to K8BZ. My node out is connected to KE0GB-1. Now I'm going to go back up to just the TNC. The lights on the TNC are going to show you the status of whatever your current input-output port is, and it will also show the status of your male light. The male light will stay on whenever anyone's connected to you, and it will flash if no one's connected to you and there's unread mail in your mailbox. So let's take a look here. The stream C is the one that's connected to my bulletin board. So let's go to stream C. I'm going to do a stream switch here to stream C. Go to the conversation mode, and I'm going to send a message to K8BZ. And the subject is going to be test. I didn't wait for the prompts, and you don't have to, but maybe I should have, just to make it a little more clear. And for the text of the message, this is a test, and the message was /EX. Okay, now I'm going to disconnect from my bulletin board by sending the disconnect character B, and watch the male light on the TNC. Now, I'm not connected anymore, so it's not staying on continuously, but it's flashing because there's a message addressed to me that has not been read. Status check now will show that the bulletin board connection has dropped off. It shows the current input-output stream is C, and it's disconnected. Let's switch to stream A. Now we'll do another status check. Stream C doesn't even show up anymore because it's not even the input-output stream, and there's no connection, so it disappears from the list. So let's disconnect on stream A that's connected to a bulletin board. I'm going to send the B, and we're disconnected. I'm going to go to stream B, disconnect from KD8TUV. Oops. Have to go to conversation mode and then send the B, and we're disconnected. Status check now shows the only VHF stream that's connected is D. Let's switch to D, stream D, and I'm going to send the disconnect character. Now this disconnect character is going to go from my VHF radio to the digipeater, back to me, into the TNC, over on HF, via HF to Colorado, and it's going to send that disconnect character to KE0GB in Colorado Springs. And soon we will be disconnected on all of those ports. And there we go. Status check now shows the input-output stream is D, and it's disconnected. And there you have it. Now we still have users set at 10 and max users at 10. A more realistic value is going to be 2 for users. I'm going to set it at 2. And I didn't use a slash because I'm going to leave 2 users on UHF and VHF. I'm sorry, on VHF and HF, as you can see. And I'm going to set max users at 3. Now, max users causes a software reset. There are a few commands that do that, and max users is one of them. Now, another one that goes right along with that is num nodes. It's the number of people that can be connected to your nodes at any given time. Num nodes is set at 1. I'm going to bump that up to 2. And that will allow 2 people to use my node at the same time. This one should also cause a software reset, which it did. And that kind of takes us through everything I wanted to show you on streams. Right now there are only 3 streams available, 2 for external people to use, and 1 additional one will be left over for me to use if those first two are being used by external users. Now I want to mention there's a link in the description of this video that will take you to a video playlist for packet radio operations, and there's a very detailed section on TNC commands, much more detailed than I have here. So if you would like more information, feel free to use that link to go to those other that other playlist. I believe there are 12 videos in that playlist at this time. I'm trying to cover the things here that are unique to the Kam XL. I used the Kam Plus on the other videos, but 90% of that information in the other videos still applies, and you'll find a wealth of information there that will help you continue to get more use out of your TNC on-packet radio. Thanks for watching. Please like the video if you're so inclined, and feel free to share it with your fellow hams who have a like interest. And if you have any questions or problems, please don't hesitate to email me at k8bz@arrl.net, and I will try to help you out any way I can. Thank you.